For the military personnel, it is said that it's better to die rather than being caught alive by the enemy. Yes, why? Because even though when you're caught alive by the enemy, the ultimate thing would be death. But at the same time, how torturous that death can be, you just do not know, and what amount of tortures can be done to the personnel, you just never know. Now in this scenario, it is very important that the military personnel knows how to survive in the enemy territory. Now in this video, we will be specifically talking about the US fighter pilots and how are they trained in order to avoid capture in the enemy territory. So when you are there in the enemy territory, how to avoid being captured by them. So let us get started with respect to this news and understand how they are trained, how effective the training is, and how they actually manage to do this. So the news is about this training. However, why is that training and everything in the news? Because see, USA started this war by attacking Iran, then Iran started defending itself. So subsequently, when the US fighter jets were there to bomb, which will consist of the US fighter jet pilots. So Iran has claimed to have shot the US fighter jets as well. Subsequent to which, of course, what could have happened is either the pilots are dead with the plane, or they have survived even though the plane has been shot down. And once, if for example they have survived, either they have been caught or they will not have been caught yet. So once the plane is shot down and you are also dead, it ends there. But when the plane is shot down, the pilot does have a scenario wherein the pilot can eject themselves. So when the pilot ejects themselves, they are going to possibly land in the enemy territory. Now, once you are about to land in the enemy territory, how do you ensure that you are not caught by them and rather rescued by your own people and get back out of the enemy territory is what we will understand. So this is why it is being discussed, because Iran is shooting down the fighter jets, as a result of which the talk about the survival of the pilot. So there is this pilot survival doctrine which begins immediately after ejection. Ejection means ejection of the pilot from the pilot seat. They have the option to eject, the seat ejects, they come out, and then there is a parachute and they come down with the help of the parachute. The core principle here is of survive, evade, communicate, and rescue. You have to evade the eyes of the enemy so that you are not caught. This entire process combines your training, equipment, and rapid military responses. If all these three things work well, you could be lucky enough, or let's say smart enough to be saved. Let's move ahead. Next is the SERE training is what is given to the soldiers. Now, what is the SERE training? It is survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. Survival is about, so these are the four pillars. It is about, survival is about enduring harsh conditions. Evasion, as I said, avoid the eyes of the enemy. That means avoid any kind of enemy detection. Resistance is to withstand the capture and interrogation, because every time you may not be able to evade, so you may be captured as well. So you have to show resistance, withstanding the capture and interrogation. Then subsequently there will be, whether you are caught or not, rescue will still be there, either through diplomatic channels or otherwise as well. So return to the friendly forces. Now, how does it all work? So it starts with ejection and the initial survival phase. Now this ejection happens within seconds after the impact. If you're shot by a missile or anything, or there is an imminent threat, you immediately would eject. There is, of course, a high risk of injuries, fractures and all are quite common over here. Now the survival kit with the pilot basically deploys the parachute. right? So as you can see, the pilot is coming out along with the seat. You have the seat belts and everything on, the entire seat ejects, and this is the parachute that is going to open, which is going to bring down this pilot. Now, what is the key advantage of this? One key advantage is you are up above in the air. As a result, or up above in the sky, as a result, you will have an aerial view in order to identify what do you think is a safer zone, or maybe not an enemy zone where you should direct yourself, or even if it's an enemy zone, what you think is a safer zone. So that gives you an aerial view, giving you a basic advantage, right? So enemy presence is the immediate priority. Where do you think enemies will not be present, so on and so forth. You have to also assess your injuries, identify the terrain, the threats, etc. Once you are down, once you fall, of course you will still have an impact even with the parachute, so you can definitely have injuries, and you might end up, on trees, this, that. It is not that easy, even that the barks, etc. can hurt, and finally when you fall down to the ground, there will be injury. You need to assess them, identify the terrain, the threats, etc. These jet pilots are given survival kit. Now in this survival kit, few important things: communication tools, signaling devices, sustenance things, and medical support along with environmental protection is provided. This consists of the communication tools, of course, radios, GPS, beacons, signals, mirrors. Signaling device will be flares, the flare that goes up. With a gun you can shoot a flare, smoke bombs, strobe lights, etc. For sustenance, you have water packets, purification tablets which purifies the water, and food from 3 to 7 days. Then you have the medical support for bandages, tourniquets, the medical first aid kit kind of, and environmental protection, thermal blankets, fire starting tools, etc. Thermal blankets because people can die out of let's say cold as well, shivering to it, and it reduces your capacity also if you're not rested, because you have to survive a few days. So it becomes really important. Objective is to sustain life and enable the rescue. You don't have to live there forever, just survive so that you can be rescued. Now the ground strategy is to evade and survive. After landing, you assess the mobility and the injuries, determine where you are, the location, and avoid detection at all cost, right? That is the most important thing. Once you are surviving on one side, from the other side starts the combat search and rescue. So this is CSAR that starts, right? So combat search and rescue teams are activated. The feature is specialized forces plus aircraft, pre-planned rescue protocols will be there. Those teams will be deployed. Intelligence inputs will be provided to them, and real-time decisions will be taken by this particular response team. Now, what is the strategic significance of all this? The significance is very simple. It increases the survival of the pilot. It enhances pilot survivability, of course, and boosts the morale of the pilot. In order to survive, the pilot would have the belief that someone would be looking for them, so they have to survive. That gives them the boost as well. Now, in this geopolitical context, what does it reflect? It reflects the fact of the intensity of the modern warfare. Of course, the intensity of the modern warfare, wherein there is just no rest for you. You have ejected the seat, but there is no rest. In fact, worst situation is coming in front of you. So you have to utilize all the smartness you have, the intelligence you have, the strength you have, the tools and tackles you have in order to simply survive. Now, many of the pilots may not even survive this, may not even get a chance to eject, right? And forget the pilots, even not forget the pilots, of course, every life is important. Everyone is threatened with the war, including the civilians. At least the people in the war are prepared and know what they are doing, and they are actively intervening and getting themselves involved in the war. But the civilians are some ones who have not actively participated, and simply they are passive population, which becomes the cost of this war. and every life that is lost is important, as a result of which this survival tactics becomes important, whether that pilot is from the aggressor country or the country that is defending itself. At the end of the day, a pilot lost is a life lost, right? So we need to ensure that, we cannot, if we cannot ensure over here on our own being civilians, but all of us can of course raise our voices to our, at least not here in India, because India is not a direct part of it, but there in USA, in Israel, in Iran, and in other regions, that enough is enough. The war should stop and humanity should prevail. Thank you.